You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 156 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live, and we welcome you. And I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callie, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Voldy. Shield, what is going on there, Shield?
I am just more than happy by the fact that it has been a great week in the world of sports and the world of uniforms, because we've got lots to talk about since the last show into today as well. Even the last 48 hours talking about uniforms and sports as well. There's a lot of breaking news, a lot of happiness that goes around. Not even the rain that's pelting us right now here in St. Cloud can dampen our spirits here for another great show here tonight.
You know it, and if Mother Nature tries to shut us down, we're going to try and fight her with the best we can. So, but they usually win. But we will stick with you as securely as possible. So, yes, like you said, Voldy, a lot to talk about tonight. A little bit of a slow news. We're still in kind of the sports abyss for a little bit. But there's been some there's been some very positive news on the Vikings front. Jerseys, JJ, and also the arena football coming back to St. Paul. Oh boy, we got a lot. Yeah, we'll have to see what we'll talk about that. And then Virtues this week. Voldy's got that. All-Star Game jerseys. There was a heated debate on the Facebooks, the socials medias, with Voldy and C-Money about that. So he's going to talk about that for Virtues. And then we got ARA today. We got some good ARAs. Voldy has scrounged up. And, there's a lot happening with Shield shoutouts. There's a lot happening with MinneZona. We've got some updates too. So, and we got merch. Might as well start that off too. We got merch. So, anyway, Voldy, I say we get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. Oh, we got a good hot take tonight. So it's kind of a Vikings tidbits thing. So we're going to kind of go through this somewhat fast. The Minnesota Vikings unveiled on Tuesday, yesterday, their 1960s, 1970s throwback jerseys. We love them. Pretty much... That was my first thought. I really don't see anything wrong with them. I think they're going to look fresh come week one. I just think it's interesting that it's just right away week one. But, I'm cool with it. Not a big deal. But the jerseys are available on the Vikings website, obviously, if you go to your NFL shop and all that stuff. So there's a lot of cool things happening with the Vikings. Just, of course, we're kicking it off with week one. So, Voldy, I believe these jerseys have your stamp of approval.
Big time stamp approval. The only downside is that if we could only get the Buccaneers to wear their creamsicle jerseys week one as well, this would be fantastic. This would be a dream come true on many, many levels as well. But I really love the fact the Vikings went this route and finally got themselves a throwback uniform to hopefully stay in the full rotation of the uniform as well. And now if they didn't tell us this was the 60s and 70s, I would have guessed this would have been like the, 80s, early 90s Vikings as well, years at the Metrodome into the great saga that was the late 90s and 2000s with the Vikings too. They really haven't changed all that much uniform-wise in their repertoire over the years when it comes to some of their updates, but certainly nothing wrong with how they decided to go this route too. The one thing that I do love as well, on the helmets, obviously the classic Viking horn with the matte purple helmet and the gray face mask. That's how you know it truly is a throwback as well. Big time stamp of approval with these uniforms coming up here for this year. I just hope they wear them more in the future.
Yeah, me too. And honestly, I just feel like, I think there's some added things that are into it, but I feel like teams don't have as much leeway with jerseys as they once did. I feel like we would always get an alternate jersey back in the 2000s and late 2010 or early 2010s with jerseys, but now it's just kind of faded off. They did the color rush thing, which is okay. I mean, that's fine, but I just feel like there's not a lot of creativity. And what they did with the old school jersey, I know that people have brought it up on the socials medias too, and this, I believe, is one of the top ones for the Vikings. And with like you said, with the face mask, with the helmet, it all fits perfectly. I just got to catch me one of those, Voldy. I just got to get me one of those. So I know you are looking into some as well, and the zoners, I believe, will too. So stamp
Kirk,
over.
give me JJ, give me Hawk, give me CJ Ham, give me Dirty Harry, give me the whole squad. Starters on both sides of the ball. We'll take them all.
Let's do it. Stamp of approval. So yeah, I think the guys like it. I think everyone looks great in them, and we'll see what becomes of it. So then our next thing, for all of you gamers, Madden players out there, JJ, finally getting some recognition that he deserves. He is a 99 in the new Madden, and we couldn't be happier. We could not be happier for JJ. Claps all around. It's one of those things, Voldy, where we always go back to the national media just hates Minnesota. And it doesn't matter if you're from Minnesota. It doesn't matter. If you have an affiliation with Minnesota, they're not going to like you. And I feel like the past... Gosh, this is his 4th season now. JJ's 4th season. He finally is getting a 99. But what happened to his sophomore season? What happened to the season after that? He was rated at like an 87, I believe, in his sophomore season. In his rookie season, they're like, oh, they look at the rookie season. Oh, well, he won't do that again. There's no way. Oh, but he did. He did big time. So, claps out to JJ. There's ratings that are going to be posted all week and whatnot. I'm just glad he's getting the recognition he deserves. And he is the epitome of this team. He's the heartbeat of this team, I'd say. And, stamp of approval all around. So, Voldy, I know you're not a big gamer, but... Yeah. I just kind of want your thoughts on why you think it took so long for them to recognize Jefferson as a 99-1. We already knew this back after his rookie season. What do you got?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just really all comes down to, like we said, being affiliated with any Minnesota sports franchise, whether it be professional, amateur, collegiate. You're going to get zero leeway whatsoever. Either you're bad or you're kind of meh. There's no good when it comes to Minnesota sports. But for Justin Jefferson, he is transcending all of that. And like you said, I'm not much of a gamer, but the Madden 99 Club is something that kind of, like I said, transcends sports and even video games as well. A lot of people know the 99 Club as well. And the fact that Justin Jefferson was the first one to be announced as this year's 99 Club is, some pretty high regard there. I did see, I think Aaron Donald is still in the 99 Club. Yep. I think even they gave it to Zach Martin, an offensive lineman, but that dude knows how to block and get his job done as well. So you got no qualms out of me with that, too. If it was only possible for Justin Jefferson to get a 101 instead of a 99, I think he'd definitely be well-deserved of that. You got to put Pat Mahomes above that at like a 102 or something like that.
Sure.
If only possible, that's how good the talent of Justin Jefferson is. His talent is definitely putting himself in a very high regard and definitely puts everybody on notice when he's on the field.
Straight cash, homie.
And I feel like if Madden kind of had those so there's ratings adjusters now. They actually have guys go out to games and watch the games. They watch specific players and then they make their ratings each week. And if players are playing bad, they bring them down a little bit. And obviously with JJ, I mean, he's exceeded everyone's expectations. But, I mean, if you're going to play with a guy in Madden, you play with JJ. You play with those 99 guys, and you get the ball to them. But since we know JJ is a 99 now, I don't know. I'm not sure if they have the rating for one Kirk Cousins, but of course they're going to disrespect. They're probably going to put him at an 80. Which is way too low for Kirk. And I believe I believe Kirk's an 86. 100%.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins should be an 86 in Madden. I think he had a great stat line this past year. He was clutch in a lot of the moments. And if you haven't seen that Netflix documentary yet, you should, because the guy works his tail off. So make sure you check that out. But Voldy, let's just quick switch over to Kirk on this for a second. What is your expectation for his Madden rating coming up here in Madden 24? Are you thinking around the 80s? Or do they think they're going to really disrespect and put him like at a 78, 79? What do you think?
Yeah, knowing them, they'll put him somewhere low 80s, 79, 78. My expectation, put 2 8s right next to each other. What do you got? You got 88. That's what you
yes,
got
sir.
right there. That's where I'm putting Kirk Cousins for sure.
Hey, you go one up. I like it. I think he's very deserving of the 87 too. So, more on that later with Kirk, but it's nice. JJ's getting getting the recognition he deserves. But I also believe too that there's a lot of people that just want to see us fail too. So,
for sure, always.
We'll see. We'll see. There's always, like you said, there always. So, but speaking of football, the Arena Football League is coming back, Voldy, and Minnesota, St. Paul, they're getting a team. They're getting a team. Claps out to the St. Paul. I don't even know if we have a name for them yet, but we'll figure it out.
To be determined.
To be determined. So go in the comments. Let us know what you guys think their team name should be. But Voldy, the last time that the Minnesota had an arena football team, they were called the Minnesota Fighting Pike.
Yep.
I don't know who thought of that name at that time, but not great.
90s, man.
It was the 90s, bro. Come on. They played in the Target Center.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and they went 0-7 at home, 4-3 on the road.
Road Warriors, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we need a different name, that's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Voldy, well, we'll just kind of do a little mini ARA for a second here. Stamp of approval for St. Paul getting its own arena football team. What do you got?
I think it's got a huge stamp of approval. The only thing is going to be, are they going to play in the Target Center again? Are they going to go to the XL Energy Center? I mean, there's no shortage of venues that they can play at, but especially to hold the capacity that could be for an arena team, an arena game, certainly going to have to keep notice as well. I think it's got my big-time stamp of approval. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, come April 2024, be able to catch a game sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to catch a game. I think that would be fun.
Definitely.
I think coming up with names is going to... We'll have to brainstorm that for a little bit. But I feel like the Minnesota Moose. I feel like we've used that one
Used
before.
to be a hockey team.
Used to be a hockey team.
Been a hockey team previously.
I don't know how the hockey community would like that.
Probably not too good.
Yeah. So we'll just kind of keep brainstorming. But, I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. I mean, why not? I mean, I'd like an XFL team. I mean, we're Battlehawks for life. But, I'd like to see that with the XFL. But if we got an arena football league, I mean, let's do it. Maybe they play at US Bank. They're not supposed to start till April. I think that's a possibility too. So maybe they can work with US Bank Stadium, see what they can do. So I'd say stamp of approval. So anyway, that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. We really had to do some digging this week, but I'm proud. I think it went pretty well considering. I mean, there's a lot of stories that were fun. It's a little bit different, and hey, a little bit different is okay with us. So, Voldy's Virtues coming up here. A lot to talk about with this. Voldy, Voldy is very passionate about this. As long as he doesn't die out on us after that cough attack. No, I'm just kidding. But no, he's good. He's good. But we'll head to the Temple of Wisdom. Yeah, we'll head to the Temple of Wisdom. Voldy's gonna preach to the masses on this topic, and let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's virtues.
All right, it is time for Voldy's virtues. Voldy, we're in the Temple of Wisdom. Enlighten us.
So a wise man once said, that wise man being me, said, "Shut up, nerds, I'm talking." So what we're going to talk about here is the debacle that has come out as of late in the last couple of years, Major League Baseball and the All-Star Game uniform debate. Now, in the last couple of seasons, Major League Baseball has decided to divert from the old ways of individual players wearing their individual team uniforms during the actual game itself, while opting for the special edition All-Star Game uniform during the workout and the Home Run Derby, which takes place the night before the All-Star Game. Last 2 years, Major League Baseball has decided to switch things up. Take the All-Star Game uniform that they would wear the day before the actual All-Star Game and put that in the game itself. Now, the special jerseys that the players do wear that would usually only be worn before the Home Run Derby and actually during the Home Run Derby have actually, borne a little bit of merit as well and have actually done the last couple of seasons in Colorado and then obviously this year in Seattle as well. Baseball is the only sport in recent years, up until the last 2 years, that has put their teams and those players in individual team uniforms during the actual All-Star Game, as opposed to all the other leagues and jerseys that are worn for 2 to 3 hours at the most, and a complete waste of an awesome and wonderful uniform. Over the years, there have been some spectacular, wonderful uniforms that have brought joy to my life and also onto people's TV screens. More on that coming up. But here comes the real debate within itself. And I want to hear from the zoners as well. Should
Sure.
Major League Baseball stick with the league uniforms, American and national, or go with the team uniforms that have been a part of the game for just shy of 100 years as well? Me personally, we know my stance. If you've seen my social media feed over the last couple of weeks, you know that I'm all about the league uniforms since day one. They're a completely underrated, underappreciated uniform that deserves its spotlight, as it is the American League versus the National League for one time each and every year. We're not cheering for one Yankee versus a Padre for one at bat in the top of the fourth inning before both players get pulled out and hop on their private jets to go elsewhere as well. So this can also be the same debate can also be made that the uniform, but wearing the uniform, the individual uniform, but real baseball fans will know that the person in the uniform is the player that they want to come and see. A good friend of ours, friend of the program, Chris Moore, see money, made the stance, and I appreciate his stance on this as well, that baseball fans want to see their player from their team in their uniform that they get to see. Look, if you're a real baseball fan, you'll know who the person is, regardless of what uniform they're wearing. It's one night out of a whole season, out of 162 games. Get over it. But I'm also of the stance as well, saying that with this uniform being worn as well, that they will be able to still get some personal enjoyment out of it. Yes, I know that for Major League Baseball, it's all a business. It's a quick cash grab, for
Sure.
2-3 weeks before, 2-3 weeks after, the All-Star Game itself. I'm not dumb to that. I'm not glib to it as well. But over the years, these All-Star Game jerseys that have been completely underrated have just fallen to the wayside because they're only worn one night over a 3-4 hour period instead of getting your full purview on a national stage for, what the All-Star Game used to be 3.5 hours to 4 hours. multiple times over that said period as well. These All-Star Game jerseys have completely gone under the radar as well. 2006 in Pittsburgh, fantastic. The black with the red. You got the yellow with the red, and that great home run derby that it had. 2007 in San Francisco, the orange versus the black with the American versus the National League. 2014 with the All-Star Game in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, in St. Paul. You had the red of the National League, or I should say the navy blue of the National League versus the red of the American League. Great uniforms there, too. Just have completely gone and fallen by the wayside. I know I have multiple All-Star Game jerseys in my jersey collection right now, and they hold a very special place for multiple reasons. All other leagues in their special All-Star games that they have, whether it be the Pro Bowl, whether it be the NBA All-Star Game, the NHL All-Star Game, their players wear the league uniform for their All-Star Game, and yet no one ever seems to bat an eye on the issue at hand itself, which further just proves the point that baseball in the All-Star Game is losing more and more credibility, and they lost all credibility with me when they got rid of whichever winning team wins the All-Star Game. That league gets home field advantage in the World Series. A huge, huge problem that they had by losing that. It's all about who's going to care at the back end of the game as well, because there have been some World Series that have come down to home field advantage as well, when the weather's great, when the weather's not so great as well. But taking back to it all, it's taken baseball too long to make this change of putting the league jerseys over the player jerseys as well for said teams. And it should stay like this forever. The league jerseys need to make a stance and also hold that merit for a long time. Real baseball fans, not these casuals that Rob Manfred and the Goon Squad in New York are trying to bring in as well, all these casuals by speeding up the game and, trying to make it as attention friendly as possible. Real baseball fans should appreciate these one-of-a-kind uniforms for some players that may never even reach the All-Star Game again. You think that some of these guys that have shown up here this year are going to wear their team uniform and be like, yeah, that was from the All-Star Game 7 years ago. And I'm literally playing independent ball in, Timbuktu in the middle of freaking nowhere, elsewhere, not in the major leagues. But that All-Star Game uniform, American League, you've got your team logo on your shoulder, name on the back. That is something that you can appreciate history with in relevant uniform that will never be seen again, because the All-Star Game rotates each and every year, and sometimes it's 15, maybe 20 years before a team gets to host another All-Star Game. I don't know when it's coming back to Minnesota. It might be sometime before we die. Who knows? Maybe twice before that, but we certainly hope sooner than later. Looking back at it all, baseball needs this uniform change to stay, because we need to enjoy it. Stop trying to fix something that is already perfect the way it was. You can look back at history and say, yes, there were some shining moments from independent players for said teams playing for the American or National League. But at the same time, it's about league versus league, not player from one team versus player from the other team. It's about American versus national. League uniforms are here to stay. That's Voldy's Virtues for you.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. I almost feel like this is them trying to get the younger generation into baseball. And I think with them doing, just wear your team jersey. I mean, the NBA, I don't think, does that anymore. They used to. Was it cool at the time? Sure. Was it something that, they kept doing? Not really. But this is something that you can go from, just buying these jerseys. I've seen a bunch of people wear All-Star Game jerseys, National League, American League, both sides. I think I've seen a bunch of old Manny Ramirez ones not too long ago. The appeal is there, and the thing is coming up with a different style each year. It's like, well, we don't want it. Like, I almost feel like they're like, oh, it's too much work to make another jersey, or for next year, and then we have to do something different for the next city.
Right.
Who cares? I mean, this is something that you want to do, and if you want to do something like this that is not only appealing to the fans, but the players as well, they hold on to that stuff too. So, Voldy, I'm with you. I think they should really stick with those. And you cite a lot of great examples on here. So, the Temple of Wisdom
I would
is...
I would also like to see
Sure.
the rule, the number rule being forced as well, because you get a lot of guys wearing the same uniform number. I remember the old NHL All-Star Game. Guys would have to wear different numbers if 2-3 guys had the same jersey number. Nope, you gotta change that. This is not how it's going to roll. I would like to see that enforced. So you see, 2 guys have the same number but different teams. One has to wear a 76 or 92 or something like that, just to make that a little bit different. But that's probably thinking way too far down the road. But something I hope for in this lifetime.
Fingers crossed. But very good Voldy's Virtues. For this week, the Temple of Wisdom is flowing with knowledge. So make sure you guys tune in for previous Voldy's Virtues as well. So make sure you check that out. ARA, we got some good ARAs this week. The Wild re-signed a key player to their team. DeAndrehopkins finally signs with the team. We got that. LeBronJames goes back from 6 to 23. He's done that a couple times. We'll talk about that. The running backs in the NFL, they're tired of the franchise tags, and I think some of us can't blame them. And then there's some beef between Venables and Coach Primetime, deionsanders. So a lot to hit on ARA this week. So let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
So the Minnesota Wild here on Sunday decided to reach a pre-arbitration agreement to bring back forward Brandon Duhaime back to the squad on a one-year, $1.9 million deal. That will he will become an unrestricted free agent coming up here next summer. But at the age of 26, he did register 9 goals and 1 assist in 51 games the Wild here this year, but did a lot of other things other than scoring as well. Played a lot of big minutes down the stretch for the Wild as of late. That 2016 4th-round pick is really pulling its merit so far in a Wild uniform. And, speaking of the depth of the Wild, too, really going to come and help here especially with a new season coming up here in a few months. Is it absurd or approved that re-signing Brandon Duhaime a good move to the overall makeup of the roster for the Wild coming up?
Yeah, I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. You look at his production, like you mentioned, Voldy, and would you say he's a 3rd or 4th line guy? I think he was a 3rd, wasn't he?
Solid 3rd line guy. You could definitely move him up to 2nd if you needed to.
Right. So you add depth, and I think that's what this team needs is some depth, and obviously he works well. You get him, I mean, it's basically 1 year, $1 million. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. That sounds like a Billy G deal to me. So with that being said, straight cash, homie. Everyone gets what they want, and they can't complain about it. So, it's got my stamp of approval. I think he worked well with what they are trying to do, and I think this will only help the Wild, and we'll see what other moves will become of our Minnesota Wild here soon, too. So, you never know with Billy G. So, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think especially the right wing position where he was at this past year. You got the Matt Zuccarello, and then you got Ryan Hartman as well. After that, he's definitely a solid third line guy. You can throw in some other guys in the mix there too at the right wing position, but a lot of centers on this Wild team, so you need a lot more help out on the wings too, especially where the third, fourth line has been kind of a revolving door the last few years with the Wild. Having a guy like Duhaime, he's still 26. Him and Kirill Kaprizov are the same age, too.
Wow.
So that's a big help with that being at 26. Still young enough to have an impact and yet still have a little bit of that NHL seasoning under them to help out some of the young guys, too, where you have Matt Voldy. You do have Marco Rossi as well. And then you're going to have some, older guys that have picked up through free agency to, help kind of round off at least the offensive side, too. But you got to have a guy like Duhaime who's definitely not afraid to especially pick things up in the scoring department, but definitely not afraid to pile on the minutes as well in penalties. I think he had, just about 42 penalty minutes in 51 games for the Wild last year. Definitely not afraid to shoot the puck. He's averaging about 2-3 shots a game for the Wild too. So definitely brings an opportunity there to pick up in the scoring area, and hopefully just improves upon his game coming up here in the following season. So it's got my stamp of approval.
We'll take it. I like it. Let's do it. All right, next one, Voldy.
Yeah, we pick up from NHL free agency to NFL free agency as the Tennessee Titans and DeAndre Hopkins are expected to come to a deal to bring his
Bro, I've been here the whole time.
In Nashville with a 2-year deal worth up to about $15 million in the first season, and would also help out in up to $15 million in that first season, but does help bring a little bit more, hopefully, solidification in the receiving department for the Tennessee Titans that have been kind of really lacking that standout number one wide receiver. They've tried the last few years. Sadly, they have failed in multiple areas, but this does bring up another opportunity for hopefully the Titans to get that next level up and make a nice run after the regular season too. But with the makeup of the roster for the Titans coming up here, is it absurd or approved? With D-Hop on the team, the Titans will be a front runner in the AFC South this season.
Well, I just feel like I feel like D-Hop's been, taking this very slow, which he should. I mean, you don't want to just jump on the highest bidder and go from there. And I mean, he did his research, but I just felt it was appropriate adding our guy Marshawn, saying,
Bro, I've been here the whole time.
Him being there the whole time, sitting in free agency. I feel like there should have been more teams that wanted to go after him. I know a lot of people are saying like the Bills might make a run at him, but with the thing with Stephon Diggs, I don't think you want to mess with that at this point. But I like the way that he handled it. But I don't think they're the front runner just yet. And here's why I say that. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, you saw this team start to gel.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence is looking like the, first pick in the draft, like we're accustomed to seeing, because, well, he had a competent coach that knows what he's doing. There's one thing, and Doug Peterson, I thought, did a fantastic job at rebounding this team from the disaster that was with Urban Meyer and turned them into a team that's actually very competent. Oh, by the way, upset the Chargers. So, the Jags,
back from a halftime deficit too, man. Was it 27-0 when they came back from?
Yeah, it was.
Come on.
You're right. I mean, you see the difference, and obviously that Netflix Untold stories are coming out with the Gators, and of course, who's sitting there is Urban Meyer and whatnot, and I'll just be, just biting or just be, shaking my head the whole time every time he speaks. But aside from that, I think that the Jags are the front runner right now. The Titans, I will say, they definitely are in the mix. I mean, they're not out of it. I think when you have Henry, you add Hopkins, add that number one wide receiver that you desperately need after getting rid of A.J. Brown. But here's the issue. There's like, what, a 3-person battle for who's going to be the quarterback? Tannehill, Levis, and Willis. So who's going to be your quarterback? And, it'll be interesting to see. But I don't know if I fully trust Tannehill at this point. I feel like he kind of had his moment in the sun, but I think it's probably smart for them to maybe look else or see what happens in training camp and go from there. So no, they will. I think it's absurd. They won't be the front runner, but they're in the mix. So that's how I would put it. Voldy, what do you think?
If this would have been the Tennessee Titans of like 3 years ago, this would be a slam dunk. They are a front runner in the AFC, let alone the AFC South. That's how quickly things have gone downhill for the Titans as of late. Yes, we are talking about the quarterback battle. Tannehill, Willis, and Levis as well. See who stands out from there, because who knows? Whoever is going to, whoever 1 and 2 is going to be, the third guy might get cut. Who knows? It's very questionable. Derrick Henry, how's that going to shape up with him being all banged up these last couple of years too? And that whole situation, which we'll talk further about with running backs sitting out. Wide receivers, next to nothing without DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Traylon Burks. You've got Westbrook Akini as well. You've got Aquanawalk with the tight end position, but really not a whole lot in the receiving thread in the last couple of years too. And like I said, if this defense was the defense of 3 years ago with the Titans, this would be a slam dunk. Let's go win a Super Bowl with this Titans team. But I find this a very relevant situation. Does this also bring up to, now that we know where D-Hop's going to be? We'll talk about that in a second. What's going to do for Dalvin Cook and his off-season plans coming up for the year as well? I think, does this make them a front runner in AFC South? No, but it puts them in the conversation a little bit more relevantly. I think that's a word, but nonetheless, it is a word here on the show. Yes, the Jags are definitely the front runner in the AFC South. They do get, obviously, Calvin Ridley back for this upcoming season, even though he wasn't even a part of the team last year. And with Trevor Lawrence now going, this is going to be his 4th year, I think? At least, third, if not his 4th.
Third. I think it's third.
Yeah. Okay, so this will be his 3rd year. We saw what the progression was from first to second year of this past season as well, and how that played dividends for them. I think with that core group that they have in Jacksonville, a lot of youth, a lot of guys that have been around each other for a good number of years already in a short amount of time, they're going to definitely look to make that big jump and put themselves in the conversation of the AFC. But with the Titans, I think this is going to be I don't want to say it's going to be flash in the pan, but it's going to put them in the conversation in the division. And sadly, I wish this was a situation, and every fiber in my being is hating me about to say this. I wish we could go to the playoff format where the best teams get in, regardless of conference, because I think the Titans would be.
I don't think that's good.
I think it would certainly put them in that postseason position based off the way the team looks on paper right now. But you still got to play a full season as well in order to get to that playoff spot too. Does it put them as the front runner? No, but it definitely puts them in the conversation to start off.
Yep, and no, I don't think you're off about that. I'm kind of sick of them having a division winner that's sitting at 7-9. Well, at the time, 7-9. I mean, they did make, some of those teams did make a dent in the playoffs, but at the same time, I just feel like, some of those teams get screwed over because, they had a good season, but then there's this team that's barely above water in their crappy division, so.
What about now that we know where D-Hop is, do you think that's going to sway Dalvin, maybe looking at the Titans? They could use a little bit of help in the backup running back position.
I don't think he wants to be playing as a backup, though. That's the thing. I don't think he wants to.
Hey, Derrick Henry's injury prone.
That's true. So, maybe. I don't know. I mean, unless they trade Henry, which I doubt they will, but... Yeah, I just think he wants to start somewhere. I think once training camp starts and if there's a running back that goes down, that's the number they'll call. So, we'll see. All right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, in off-season NBA news, that probably wouldn't get a lot of traction, but it is going to be because it's a slow week. LeBron James has decided to change his uniform number yet again with the Los Angeles Lakers. He will be taking off the number 6 in a nod of respect to Bill Russell, which his number 6 was retired throughout the league this past season, but players that were already wearing number 6 were grandfathered in. LeBron will be taking off number 6, putting back on number 23 coming up here this season. According to his agent, longtime friend, Rich Paul, he said it was his decision, that being LeBron's decision. He chose it out of respect for Bill Russell and all his accolades, of course, to the game of basketball and off the court as well. But looking at what we've seen from number 6 in a Lakers uniform, LeBron, to number 23 in a Lakers uniform with LeBron as well, is there going to be a difference in the style of play of LeBron, and how does this affect his legacy overall?
Well, I should have expected that question. At first, when I thought of it, I was like, why? What's the significance? Because I felt like at the time, I'm like, I mean, what is he trying to, make a statement? But obviously, for this reason, I'd say it makes sense. I don't see any issue. I don't have an issue with it. It's just changing from a 6 to a 23, and he stuck with it. He was 23 when he got to the Lakers. Then he switched it not too long ago. Then he switched it back to honor Bill Russell, which I think you got to give him some credit for that. So I there's no issues with me on that front. Will it get him back to form? I feel like they're learning that if they're going to get by a team like Denver with Jokic, they need to get younger. And I believe they have done that. They re-signed that Reeves guy who was really good on the playoffs and obviously the regular season. They kicked the Wolves' butt, but, that was the Wolves. But, I think they understand we need to get younger in certain areas because we can't always have LeBron and AD do all the work. And for the shape that LeBron's in right now, I mean, he's defeating Father Time. It's almost similar. It's similar to Brady and how, he's dealt with Father Time. Obviously, he's retired now, but LeBron, I think, has got a couple more years before he finally says, I'm done. But they need to get younger, and I think they've done that through free agency. I think they might have to do that through trading as well, because I just feel like, if they're going to compete with those teams, they got to, have some youth and depth, because Jokic is a terror now. I mean, he's absolutely destroying people left and right. Jamal Murray has turned out to be a stud after his injury. So, I think they will, but it won't be to the extent of they're going to overcome Denver.
Right.
And how does this affect LeBron's legacy? Technically it doesn't. I mean, I can't really put anything to that because, he did it for a good cause, which I understand that. But how does this affect LeBron's legacy? Well, maybe it's like a jinx or something like that that'll happen. I don't know. Let's go with that, Voldy. We'll go with that. But will they get back to form? Yeah, but not to defeat in Denver. So, Voldy, or Golden State for that matter. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, it's very front-loaded in the Western Conference when it comes to contending teams. Let's not even forget the fact, the Phoenix Suns also play in the Western Conference too. I think, obviously with the number being retired, the number 6 that is across the league for Bill Russell, it was only a matter of time. I think LeBron this past season was thinking, let's go win a title wearing number 6 for Bill Russell in a Lakers uniform, even though Bill Russell would have hated that because, he didn't really like the Lakers at all to begin with.
Right.
But I think going back to number 23 also carries its same merit because, LeBron won a title wearing number 23 with the Cavaliers, with the Lakers as well. He did win a couple titles, with the Heat, wearing number 6, even though the number 23 is already retired in in Miami as well. I think going back to number 23, I feel like that'll be a more sense of comfortability for LeBron too, to get back to those old winning ways that he had, at least at the start of his tenure with the with the Lakers, I should say, and hopefully get them back to that same form. But 3 years ago was a lot different. They won a title in the bubble, not in a full rigmarole of an NBA season. Nuggets are good. Suns are good. Warriors are still the Warriors last time I checked. And there's some up-and-coming teams coming out of this Western Conference, too. They're going to make it just a little bit difficult to even think about going back to the finals as well. Does it affect his legacy? I think at the end of it, in the next couple of years, whenever he does decide to retire, it'll be at the same number that he was at the beginning of his career. So it really bookends all chapters of his story, whether it be in LA, whether it be with a different team, wherever his son gets drafted to, so that he can play a season with his son too, with Ronnie. But does it affect his legacy? No, I think it just is going to be a nice little send-off if he ends up wearing number 23 down the stretch as well. So I think it's got my stamp of approval with him switching back. Are the Lakers going to get back to form? It's going to be a very uphill battle. They got to get younger, like we said, and they got to get all those right positions filled out for them.
Especially down low. I mean, Anthony Davis can only handle so much. So, hey, you guys want Cat? No, I'm just, I mean, you know, I don't know if I do it.
Can't throw anything out at this point.
All right. Next one, Voldy.
So we talk about NFL off-season news yet again, and one issue that continues to be a battle is the running back position, and that also term of death for running backs, franchise tags. The deadline for franchise tag players came and went and by on Monday, with 3 big-time NFL running backs not signing with those franchise tags and agreeing to long-term deals. Saquon Barkley for the New York Giants, Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders, and Tony Pollard for the Dallas Cowboys did not sign long-term deals with their respected teams for that franchise tag as well. Now, of course, that franchise tender was signed by Pollard back in March, but it's looking like these teams and these both Barkley and Jacobs are looking at planning holdouts well into the start of training camp and the upcoming preseason and maybe even the regular season as well, with these players still much in the prime of their careers, some of them having to deal with injuries as of late. But this is really bringing all the players out of the woodwork as well to voice their discomfort about the position, the amount of turnover, and how they are valued in the NFL landscape when it comes to off-season deals as well. Derrick Henry is throwing out his discomfort as well about the prices as well, saying at this point, just take the running back position out of the game. The ones that want to be great and work hard as they can do give their all to an organization. Just seems like it doesn't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve, that being bigger deals, longer-term guarantees. Christian McCaffrey as well saying that even with these potential long-term deals and being holdouts as well with the 1 year franchise tag, saying this is criminal. 3 of the best players in the entire league, regardless of position, are not getting what they deserve. Jonathan Taylor, he's a young guy as well, that's voiced his concern because of the fact that the such quick turnaround at the running back position that continues to be a relevant issue season in and season out just continues to rear its ugly head with the value of a running back, because obviously a lot of teams rely on the running game and have solid running backs that are built in their offenses, because if you have a running back, you've got at least somewhat of a good offense as well to at least build around that. But with the amount of turnaround that there has been in the position, it certainly does not merit teams fully investing in these players beyond 4, maybe 5 years. Is it absurd or approved? How long will the running back position, given what we know, the running back position itself, last with the going market that has been, the amount of turnover and turnaround at the position, and players getting their 3-4 year contracts franchise tagged and most likely not getting paid even after that as well?
Well, here's where this whole thing, and I agree with all the running backs that have spoken out. Josh Jacobs had a career year with the Raiders, even knowing that, hey, they might not, re-sign him, and whatnot. Right. He played out of his mind, and I'm not just saying that because I've watched Raiders football. I say that because I did have him on my fantasy team. I know nobody cares that I had him on my but he was very good, and I believe that he deserves that money. Obviously, Saquon does. He had a career year. He tied the team in receptions. Okay, and that just tells you about Daniel Jones, but that's a different topic that we'll discuss at another time. But I look at Saquon, and he is right in a lot of the things. I think before the show I was watching a video saying that I didn't it's just the business and everything, but like I've been noticing too that the running back position is starting to get devalued a lot, which I don't necessarily understand. Like you said, a lot of teams rely on the running game. Tennessee, you look at what they did there in Tennessee. With the Vikings, with Dalvin for all those years, we did rely, not as much now, but with the running game and, getting that involved. But, it is a passing league now. And I feel like there has been, changes and whatnot, because I believe what's happening here is that you can get a running back in the 7th round, like the Kansas City Chiefs with Pacheco. And he beat out Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the running back position's not as valued as it once was, because teams are like, well, we can get it at low value, and that's why a lot of these teams are following in, other teams' footsteps here. And, the Vikings, they decided, the offense that we want to run doesn't necessarily fit what Dalvin's used to and whatnot, and that's why I think they eventually moved on. But then again, they weren't willing to pay him all that money, too. So, if you're a running back in this league, you take, like, the brunt of hits. There are guys, you get that ball, there are guys wanting to rip your head off. They want to attack you. They want to try to, get you to fumble and, things like that. I think that there needs to be somewhat of a agreement between, players and obviously front office people and whatnot about this, because the running back position is very important. And I feel like a lot of these running backs are getting the short end of the stick here without getting those long-term deals. So I'm with them. I really am. But the thing is now that this league is a passing league, there's really not much, I understand why coaches are doing it, but at the same time, the running back position is valuable. Look at what Pacheco did in that Super Bowl. He had a lot of big runs. Without those big runs, they probably lose that game to the Eagles.
Oh, definitely.
So the running game is still important. I think it's absurd that they're not able to get those deals that they so rightly deserve. And I feel like Josh Jacobs out of everyone. I don't get what the Raiders are thinking there. You got a stud in that backfield. Use them. That's all I can really say to that. So, yeah, I'd say it's absurd. I think there needs to be like conversations about the market and how they should get what they deserve. Maybe they up the cap again, and it goes up every year. But at the same time, these running backs I feel like are getting the short end of the stick. So that's just my thoughts. But what do you think, Voldy?
Yeah, a lot of it really comes down to, I think, in my mind, and I'm not an NFL GM. I'm not a pro running back as well. You don't know what you've got coming season, because we've seen Derrick Henry obviously lead the league in yards, and the next year he blows out his knee and is a shell of himself in the back half of the season as well. You don't know, because these guys are one tackle away from a season-ending, career-ending injury as well. And guys like Saquon, who's already torn up his knee. Josh Jacobs, who went from nothing to a big-time something. Tony Pollard, who sat behind Ezekiel Elliott for what felt like 15 years, and I said the whole time, Tony Pollard could be a number one running back in anybody else's team. And finally we saw this year that him spread his wings and obviously become a legitimate rushing threat for the Cowboys that they've been, obviously lacking over the last few years, with Zeke. Obviously, Tony Pollard would do the brunt of the work, and then Pollard would, or I should say Zeke would come in the last, yard and a half and get his 1 yard rushing touchdown for that to beef up those numbers. But in the market of the NFL, obviously you do put a lot of investment on your team because with the running back position, there is such a high grade of turnover as well. I think what the given the mileage on a running back in the NFL, I think last time I saw maybe 2-3 years, maybe 3-4 years before they're either cut, injured, or out of football all to begin with as well. And you've seen some of these guys from some of these hybrid positions that have changed up the way the position is looked at. Cordero Patterson, up until his time with, he was strictly a wide receiver return guy, but now he's almost as running back can get with him in Atlanta. Saw flashes of it, pun intended, with New England as well, that led him to winning a Super Bowl as well. But you've got these purebred running backs. Obviously, you throw in other guys, too, that are threats out of the backfield, like Austin Eckler as well. Jonathan Taylor, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and a young, promising running back for that Colts squad, too. Najee Harris, Le'Veon Bell, when he was still relevant in the league, too, and even throwing in some of the long-term vets that have put their stamp on the game, and Brandon Jacobs are just seeing that as a complete, I don't want to say disrespect, but, looking at the way the game is changing as well, it's as pass-friendly as it can be. Guys have had to adjust their games as well, and they're putting more emphasis in the receiving game as opposed to the running game as well. But I look at the overall change in how the market has. Running back market hasn't changed at all. You get your 3-4 year deal, maybe you get a franchise tag, and then maybe you end up signing somewhere else. But you're not going to get the money that you so rightly deserve. Is it going to change? I think, unfortunately, the way the game is evolving, it's going to change, and not in the way that it should. It's not going to be the same that it is with like wide receivers, because obviously those guys are going to get their money because everybody's throwing the ball in the league. But if you have a good running game, that's going to help alleviate, but not to the same level that it needs to be for these guys to obviously stick around if you're healthy, because obviously you're going to take a lot of hits, 15, 20 times a game. And if you put up 100+ yards, that's a good day, obviously, to help your team. But you're taking a lot of hits, not even during the game as well. In practice, and getting that body right for each week is going to be a struggle. And sadly, I just don't see this market changing anytime soon because of the fact that each and all these players that are holding out are trying to get the money that they can right now, because 2-3 years down the road, we could very well see these players not even being I don't want to say fully relevant, but just not being the same player that they were at the start of their careers as well.
Right. So we'll see. I mean, it's it's disappointing, but I think that their voices hopefully will be heard. So we'll see. All right. Last one, Voldy.
So we go to college football, and obviously the big news out of the college football world is the turnaround and turnover, if you will, the University of Colorado and their football program, with the Buffaloes being led by Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. Use of the transfer portal has drawn some ire and admiration from coaches across the Division I college football landscape, and including one that being Brent Venables for the Oklahoma Sooners, who was also a guy hired during the offseason of a major Division I power in a Power 5 conference as well. Him being at Oklahoma, taking over for Lincoln Riley, who went off to USC. Certainly drew a few different ires, and obviously because of the fact that as soon as Deion walked through the door at Colorado, he said, I've got my guys coming in. Most of y'all are going to probably have to go into the transfer portal and play somewhere else. Venables, during Big 12 media days, came out and said, I gave guys 12 months of grace. I was unlike Deion. I gave guys 12 days of grace to figure it out. Here's 3. Go to class, live right off the field, and when you show up here and with respect and appreciation with your opportunity, and if you go 0 for 3 for 12 months, you need a fresh start, and we help 21 guys, give or take, find a fresh start elsewhere, that being going into the transfer portal as well. So basically, Deion came in and said, you guys most likely won't be here after the season that you had. I've got my guys coming in. You can either stick around, maybe you'll see some action, most likely won't, or you go to the transfer portal and go somewhere else. So basically boiling down to the two ends of the spectrum, that is Venables and Coach Prime, and how that all went. Coach Prime, you're talking either leave or probably not play, or you go with Venables. We'll give you some grace. You give us a full season here. We'll see how it goes, and if it ends up going all right, you can stay, or we'll help you find somewhere else in that respect as well. Looking at the full comments that made by Brent Venables of Oklahoma, is it absurd or prove the lack of a grace period comment by Venables on Coach Prime before Prime's even hit the sideline for the Buffaloes coming up here this season?
Well, I feel like you have two guys that have a different view on how that should go. Granted, Venables has been in this, been in college football for a long time. And, Deion obviously playing college, going into the NFL and whatnot. But I think he's trying to have a culture there where he wants all of those guys to get an opportunity, but he also knows, too, that, well, if you do really well and you want to go somewhere else, then, you might not play as much and, things like that. But, I mean, it's up to their decision. But with Venables, like you said, I mean, I think that, helping those guys get those opportunities, and ultimately guys just want to win, right? And,
right.
I feel like in this situation, the grace period that you're seeing with the 12 months, I don't think that is as bad as it seems, but I also know too that it depends on who your coach is, who is running who's running the university and whatnot, or the football program, I should say, not the whole university. But
Right.
I feel like there's different methods. I don't think it was a shot at Deion per se. I just think that he has a different philosophy as opposed to what Deion has. So I don't see it as a big knock, and obviously I think Deion doesn't see it as a big issue as well, which is good because I think you got to be patient with it. I get from Venables' side, but I also know that Deion is somewhat new to this too, but at the same time, he was at Jacksonville. Things went well. So, I don't know. I would say, I'd say it's got my stamp, or I mean, I don't really have an issue with it. So, let's just go with, maybe he shouldn't have mentioned Deion per se, but,
I don't really know why that had to come up in the first place.
Right. So I think it's absurd that he's just bringing that up, but at the same time, too, I think he's got a philosophy. He's got a philosophy. So at the end of the day, who gives a rip, right? So
Right, exactly.
I'll just say the comment that he made with the lack of the grace period and mentioning Deion, I think was kind of dumb. But what do you think, Voldy?
And even with it being justified on the end of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, he even mentioned as recently as June as well that he was quoted as saying, "What I'm doing is no different than any CEO." Obviously, when you come in, you've got your guys, your coaches, your players are going to be coming with. So obviously, you've got 5 guys here. Well, 4 of them are probably going to leave, if not one of them that say, you know what, he's got promise, he's got something here I could work with, or as well, you learned from the previous regime, heard things, talked with other coaches about said player. If he's good enough and he wants to stick with the process, he'll still be around. Other times it'll be guys that, maybe had a bad attitude, didn't quite live up to the expectations of what they could be. And you know what? It's going to be better if they go somewhere else because at least they'll have the opportunity to play at that same level, if not at a, be a number 1 guy elsewhere, because we already knew when wherever Deion Deion was going to go. He was going to bring his guys, and he was going to try to institute that culture right away. That's kind of the thing that's being missed here, is the fact that he's trying to build culture of a program, of a program and a team that hasn't had a whole lot of positive culture recently. He's trying to do it in a, I would say in at least a 6-month period before they start getting going with obviously fall camp and then leading up to week 1 of the college football season too. So there'll be a lot of eyes there. You've got his guys coming in. Venables is trying to do the same thing on his side, but he's just doing it at a much less accelerated pace because he had this season, they finished 6-7, that being Oklahoma, not to the great success that they've had in recent years. Obviously, they've had guys like Kyler Murray. They've had Baker Mayfield. They had Jalen Hurts as well for a hot second there, too. That worked out for that time. So now you've got a whole different turnaround of a team to try to rebuild that, with even more players that have transferred from this offseason and looking at a younger core group for the Sooners coming up here. I think it just really come down to, because obviously Coach Prime's been in the headlines, so obviously it's not going to be something you just quite forget as well. Just to the, I don't want to say outlandishness, but the way of looking at the way Coach Prime does his stuff. I have nothing against it as well. The best players are going to follow the best coaches. That's how it's worked for Nick Saban all those years. That's how it worked for Kirby Smart in Georgia, Coach O when he was down in LSU too. And you know what? The best players are going to find the best teams, and they're going to probably win. I think with Oklahoma and Venables, we'll see. It's probably going to be a labor of love. I mean, they had their first losing season since 1998 this past year as well. So you almost go a quarter of a century with a losing season. I'm sure that's going to, get under a few people's skin, but they're not going to fire him right away. I think it's definitely going to be something to take note of. It'll be very interesting how Colorado's season comes up here. If they have a winning season, if they don't have a winning season, that's definitely going to draw a few eyes. Be like, well, Deion's all, flash in the pan. He's all talking no game as well. We'll see how that works. The comment itself, I don't think there was any malice towards it.
Right.
I think it was just more of a, here's what I did and here's what, the opposite end of the spectrum. And, Deion, he is the guy that's been doing that as of late as well. I don't think there was any malice to it. I think it was just playing to what people know is going on and just brings it. So I don't have any problem with the comment as well. And I think Deion doesn't have any problem with it either. It's just coaches that are just, obviously putting things out there and have certainly made their intentions be known as well. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. That's how I would say it with this situation. So, all right. That'll do it for ARA this week. Great job as always, Voldy. Sure. And we got a shield shout out, but it's a very special shield shout out. We gotta get it rolling. So let's get it going. It's shield shout outs.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, with the turnaround of week to week, sometimes you got to dig deep a little bit for some of these Shield shoutouts. This one wasn't overly difficult to find as well because of the fact that Justin Jefferson of your Minnesota Vikings joining the Madden 99 club, the first time that he has joined that club, and the highest ranked Minnesota Vikings wide receiver since Randy Moss, who got a 98 on his Madden rating as well, joining the 99 club here this season for Justin Jefferson, and hopefully even higher numbers to go as the season comes along. And who knows, maybe even break that 99 club and be the first triple-digit guy in the Madden club as well. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
I don't see why not. Not. I think he can do it. But just think about this, though. He's been in the league for one. This is his fourth season coming up, right?
This will be, season number 4,
All previous have been over 1,000 yards. I mean, that is... That's almost unheard of now. I mean, that's amazing. And he's gonna do it again this year just because, he's JJ. He's going to be doing the gritty. He's going to be adding some more flavor to it and whatnot, and lead us to the promised land. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and a new deal hopefully on the horizon at some point here. So, great job with Shield shoutouts. I know a little quiet week, but football is starting up, and
it is.
With that being said, our pick'em will be starting up soon. That is another thing to look forward to. And but if you're like, you know what, just want to buy some merch, well, we got merch for you. We've got shirts, stickers, hats, and look at those bad boys. I mean, thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Tyler Knudsen, Crown Rental. We appreciate the stickers. They look fantastic. Shield shoutout stickers. Right at you. Boom. So, JJ, if you want a Shield shout-out sticker, we can hook you up. I know you're pretty busy right now, but we're happy to send it to you.
For sure.
But make sure you check that out. We do have the limited edition T-shirt that is available. It is an XL, so if you know someone that would like that, we can get it to them. And then we have the regular shirts. We got those bad boys. $20, $5 shipping. All that
great
good
way to
stuff.
Start your back-to-school shopping.
This is true.
MinneZona Sports Live.
This is true. Very true. So make sure you check out our guys, Victorious P.O.D, Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. Make sure you check out TLS Performance with Troy Stoudemire Jr. Make sure you check out all of his stuff. And then make sure you check out Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne, Myhrberg. Omni Entertainment, they've got some cool stuff posted a lot as well. So, next week, there's gonna be a fun little announcement going on Wednesday. It's a great opportunity. I won't reveal it now, but it will be revealed next Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune in next week as well, because we'll have more stories, more fun, and then also that announcement. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I think this is going to be a fun time. So, without further ado, remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.